Hey, I'm Shawna and today we're going to be doing another tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to be explaining in depth how I like to paint this super cute reindeer design. If you're new here, I'm a face painter and I like to make videos all about face painting, so if you want to learn about face painting or if you just like to watch me paint, then feel free to subscribe. Leave all your questions and comments in the comment section down below and let's go ahead and get started with the tutorial. To start out this design, I'm going to paint a rainbow and I'm using a short 3/4 flat brush. I'm going to preload my brush with a little bit of white and then I'm going to load my brush with my favorite rainbow, which is Leanne's Neon Rainbow. And then I'm just planning on where this rainbow is going to go. I don't want it to go too high up on my face. And now I'm going to try and get a really clean line with this rainbow. So to do that, I'm pressing my brush down pretty firmly and I'm really focusing on those top bristles on creating a nice rainbow shape with pretty much just the top bristles. So I'm kind of carving out that rainbow shape here at the top. I'm not too worried about the red part of my brush because that's going to get covered up with the next step. Now I'm loading up a long 3/4 flat brush with a cake that I made myself. It's got black, medium brown, gold, and white. Now it's time to paint the ears, and it's important that they don't go straight and that they're painted at more of an angle. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to start and I'm just going to make a few marks at the focal point, just placing my brush down and using light pressure to drag it up. And then I'm pressing a little bit more firmly and dragging it down to finish the ears. Then I check for symmetry and add a little bit more to the right ear. Now I'm basically doing another rounded shape like I did for the rainbow, and I like to keep my brushes loaded while I'm painting so I don't wash out my brushes until I'm done with the design. And the reason for that is sometimes I need to come back and do a little touch up, like the rainbow here, I didn't quite touch the ears, so I had that loaded and I went ahead and just grabbed that and filled that in. So now I'm just connecting those ears using another rainbow shape. Now the white and the gold on my brush have mixed a little bit and made this lovely color. I'm going to bring that down my nose and I'm just going to show you can blend that out with your finger. What I really like to do is I like to have a dry sponge nearby. Doesn't have to have any color on it. And if I'm dragging out a color with my one stroke, I will just blend that in with the dry sponge. And as you can see here, it blends it out really nice that way. Now to finish out the ears, I'm just going to put my brush right at the tip of the ear again, and I'm just going to pull just the dark part of the brush, the brown part, down towards the middle. And again, I'm kind of carving out that shape. Now I have some paint still on the bottom of my brush, so I'm just going to drag out that light gold and just kind of cover my eyebrows. I'm going to load up a sponge with tag gold and some superstar white, and I am just going to use the gold on my sponge to blend out the ears, and then I'm going to put the white in the inner corners of my eyes, and I'm just going to blend those together a little bit, just go back and forth and make a nice blend there. I really like having white in the inner corner of the eyes for this one. It just looks really nice and bright. And still using that flat brush, I'm just going to fill in the gaps here. I'm going to speed past this next part because I ended up not liking how the antlers were looking and I ended up taking them off and redoing them. So I'm going to walk you through how I end up fixing that. So in order to wipe off the antlers, I obviously had to wipe off the rainbow as well. So I'm just painting that back on and I'm making sure I have a really creamy consistency so that it doesn't pick up the other colors around it. And some of the other parts got smudged a little bit, so I'm just going back over those with that one stroke. After all of that, the ears were a little bit dark, so I'm just using the light part of the brush and blending that out. So I'm taking the part of my brush that is loaded in brown, and I'm going to load that straight into the brown and the gold. Your brush should look something like this, and yes, we're going to be painting on the side of the brush that we don't usually paint with. And I'm basically just painting 3 teardrops, and I'm just giving them a little bit of a gap in between each so they have some negative space. The mistake that I made on the last antlers was pressing too hard the whole way through the teardrop, so this time I made sure to release more pressure. And I wanted to give the antlers a little highlight, so I'm just flipping my brush and just using whatever's left on there from the light side. Now, if you wanted to stop here, even if you left out the rainbow and you just used the brown one stroke and did this deer, it would be super fast. This step is optional, but basically I'm going to use the brown part of my brush and I'm just going to lightly stamp and drag my brush on either side of my nose to create two thin lines. This technique is much easier to do on a child with a smaller face, and if it's easier, you can definitely use a small round brush for this, or you can just lay the brush down flat and create a thicker line on either side. It's just going to look a little bit darker. I'm picking up some Shimmer Red using number 4 round brush, and by the way, all of the products that I'm using will be listed in the description down below. I'm painting the nose, and you might notice that I'm not sketching out a circle here. I'm laying the brush down flat and carving out the shape that I want. I know I've said that a lot during this tutorial, but this really is the technique that allows me to create clean shapes really fast. I'm picking up my favorite color for blush, which is Superstar Cotton Candy Shimmer, and I'm just using a nice soft sponge, putting the most concentrated amount of color onto my cheekbones, and then just stippling out whatever's left on my sponge to blend that out a little bit. I'm working up a creamy consistency using Wolfe White, and I'm going to take this number 4 round brush, and instead of doing dots, I'm going to lay my brush down, and I'm just going to move it side to side a little bit to create more of an oval shape. To keep things symmetrical, I'm going to tap on one of the dots on one side right before I paint it on the other side, just for a reference point of where that should be. I'm painting these spots at a bit of an angle, and I'm directing them towards the central focal point, which is located right on the bridge of my nose. I tried to keep in mind the focal points of the face when I'm structuring a face paint design. I'm doing 5 spots in the center of my face. I usually paint in odd numbers when I'm doing clusters like this. And I'm just cleaning up those spots a little bit. This is totally optional, and I probably would not do this on the job. I reloaded my brush in white, and now I'm just going to do some teardrops at the base of the ears here, and I'm using the back of my brush just to blend that out, and I'm just going over that one more time, just concentrating on making the base of that teardrop really nice and bright. This is usually where I would stop for this design, but I'm going to show you guys how you can add just a little bit more to make it even more fun. I like to ask teenagers if they would like a little bit of eyeliner with their face paint, and they always love it. So I'm just adding a little bit of white to my inner corners. I also decided to add a little highlight to the nose. I ended up going with more of like a thin line instead of 2 dots because I thought that looked a little cuter. So now I'm just checking the design and seeing if there's any spots that need to be touched up. I only do this on the job if I have time, and today I have plenty of time, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm also outlining the nose, and I'm outlining under my eyes where I put that white eyeliner. I'm painting my lips using the same red that I used for the nose and the ears. And I'm sorry I don't have footage for me blending out the red in the ears, but I will show you guys in depth how I do the ears in just a moment. Now I'm picking up my favorite winter glitter. This is Snow by Creative Faces Glitter Sticks, and I'm using a silicone glitter applicator, and I'm applying this glitter to the antlers in clusters of 3, and I also put some in the center right underneath the rainbow. And that's it for this super cute reindeer design. I hope that you guys liked it. Feel free to stay tuned to watch me break down some of the elements a little bit more. How I paint the ears. You can either start by doing a little flick and doing a line like this, or you can do the maneuver that I demonstrated a little earlier in the video. Then I'm laying all my bristles down and coming in parallel to that first line. And to bring it all together, now I'm setting up my brush at an angle, and I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to lay all my bristles down and follow that line and end by pulling away my hand and releasing pressure. One stroke is pretty forgiving, so you can go over the shape a few times to get it how you want. With some Tag Gold on a nice soft Kryvalline Never Stain sponge, I'm just going to blend that out. For the red in the ears, I'm going to use Global Pearl Red. Any shimmery red will work. Shimmer colors blend a lot easier than other colors do. We don't need a lot of paint for this, so I'm removing most of that on my arm, as you can see. So I'm just going to do some flicking motions to add the red into the center of the ears, and then you can either blend that out with your finger, or I like to blend it with a sponge. You could also use a small kabuki brush. Now I'm working up a creamy consistency with my white, or I'm trying, and I ended up doing a teardrop here that was a little too much of a wet consistency, and we need it to be a little more creamy, so I just ended up going back over that with some more creamy white. And if I just need to blend things a little bit, I'll use the back of the brush. This part is optional. I skipped it during the main tutorial. The ears look a little bit more defined with a bit of an outline, so I'm going ahead and doing that. And then I'm just creating a line here in between the white and the rest of the ear, and then just adding some flicks, and that helps give it some dimension. Another important technique, in my opinion, is to be able to take a flat brush like this and make thinner lines with it. It's important that your brush has a nice sharp edge to it and isn't too fluffy. I'll list some of my favorites in the description. Once you have that brush, you can just lay it on its sharp edge, and with light pressure at a perpendicular angle, you can drag it down. You can also do stamping motions to make thin lines, and I recommend just practicing like I'm doing here. The antlers are pretty simple. I'm just turning my brush to the brown side and doing some teardrops with it. And the thing that I wanted to mention is getting used to your brushes so that you can use them in multiple different ways so that you don't have to change brushes. It'll make you paint a lot faster. Alright, that's it for this tutorial. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. So I like to keep you guys updated on my schedule and when I upload. I don't have a set date yet, but I am now posting at least once a month, and I might even throw in some other videos. So feel free to subscribe if you want to join me on this journey. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!